Town Hall 13 is broken. In this video, we are going to break down the best attack strategy for Town Hall 13. It is the Yetis, but you need to know what type of bases to look for and how exactly to use them, so that's what this video is going to do. Let's get into it. Alrighty guys, this is the base that I took down with the Yeti Smash. I will be sure to explain why I chose this base and how you can get this to work at home. All of the attacks in this video are from the 50 vs 50 Town Hall 13 birthday stream for Carbon Thin. Can we get some hype in the comments for Carbon? Carbon's channel and Eric's will be in the description. I was on Team Eric. Now we were first discussing this base and a lot of my teammates said, why don't we ward and walk the multi-inferno at 9 o'clock? Then the Yeti Smash makes sense. It's the best strategy at Town Hall 13. My concern was all of the storages here, and the Grand Warden would take a long time to get through. However, I decided the 3 o'clock multi was a lot better. Yes, the king is there, and I'll tell you how I got around that in a second, but if you can funnel using your Grand Warden, that's exactly what you want to do. You don't always have to take down a multi, but if you can, then it is definitely beneficial. But essentially, you can take out multiple layers here and then pull the Grand Warden where you want easily just by deploying the troops. So the basic plan here, then I'll get into the replay, was to jump in here, create the funnel with the Warden Walk on this right hand side, Siege Barracks and King to create it on the left, but then we can use Earthquake spells to open up the entire base. Now the thing that you are looking for, if you can Warden Walk, that's the first thing. If you can easily funnel the other side, that's the second thing, and you need to be able to get access into the middle so you can get all of your Yeti into the center of the base, but then they need to be able to get through the base to the splash damage, and that's what the Earthquake spells allowed, right the way through to them back end multis. Don't worry if there are defenses on the back end, because the Royal Champion is a brilliant troop in order to finish that off, but also you must be taking cleanup for this as well, so you can take some loons, baby dragon, anything like that in order to finish off the back end of the base. So I started the Grand Warden on the mortar. Initially, I was thinking around this side to try and get the air defense, but actually, it would just take too long. The Grand Warden will take out these buildings either side before stepping up to the archers, or the archer towers, sorry, and then he engages the king. Meanwhile, check out this one wizard I placed to wipe out all of them buildings since the archer towers were distracted on the Grand Warden. So it's all working beautifully at this point. Grand Warden will then step up to get the multi. As soon as the multi goes down, that is where you switch it and you pull the Grand Warden. But this is what we knew was going to happen. The king would engage the Grand Warden. So I had planned to use a rage spell here, but I wanted to use something else as well. Initially, I was thinking, why don't I put a baby dragon in? Looking at it now, it probably would have been out of range, so it would have been fine, because I thought an air troop won't distract the healers. Eric actually suggested a Valkyrie, which is a brilliant idea. Anything less than that, let's say 2 wizards, for example, would have been in range of the multi-inferno and taking damage, but a Valkyrie is very tanky, so the Valkyrie comes in just to speed the process up, if nothing else. The Grand Warden would have got through the king, but just to speed it up. Again, you've got to be cautious on time. Now, as soon as the multi goes down, by the way, guys, I started a little bit late here, but let's take a look at that Siege Barracks. I start it now, look, and the Grand Warden only has one more shot on the multi. Then, as soon as the multi goes down, you're deploying your Yeti inside the radius of the Grand Warden. So you want to deploy them here so that they move this way where you want them to go. But then the Grand Warden will switch into the support role and move across that way. That's the easiest thing to do. You can pull the Grand Warden, that's why he's great for funneling. But you want to ensure you've created the funnel on that other side. So the Siege Barracks arguably could have came in a little bit earlier, maybe just a couple of seconds, nothing drastic, because you do want that momentum through the base with everything. So the Yeti come in, and basically, with that jump spell, there is nowhere else for them to go here. We've got a beautiful entry into the base. We've got this just nice area, look, for the Yeti to come through. That is what you need. clear pathing, get your Yeti into the center, and whilst it's not as complex as, let's say, a lava loon strategy, I do think they need a little bit of a nerf, but use the Yeti. If you can 3-star with them, identify the base correctly, you can get through to the multi-infernos, to the other splash, then just wreck the base. Get them 3 stars, guys, and this is how to do it. Now, the siege barracks is great for funneling, and what has been found by the community is putting in hog riders is a great option. And on this base, I noticed that after the funneling, we had this chunk of defenses down to the side that the hog riders would be drawn down to. So that's why I went with that method. As long as you can get the Yeti into the center, I've got my rage spells in there as well. Grand Warden, make sure that you're using that through the Giga Bomb. If you need to, your Yeti mites might actually take it down, and arguably they did in this one, and ensure that you're trying to get through any major splash. Eagle Artillery Fire, but once everything's in the middle, you can see how now I'm merging everything together. The Hog Riders came from that side, like I said. My plan was to snipe the Royal Champion into the side here and loop around, and that's one way at Town Hall 13 to deal with them defenses on the outside. But in hindsight, I could have adapted slightly and put the Royal Champion up to this area. There is a Tesla here as well, but obviously the Royal Champion would have took that down, and it would have just helped with time if nothing else. However, I kind of had the plan in my head. I popped the Royal Champion in, but then look at all of the other troops I have down in the troop bar. These are all just adapt on the fly. All you need your Yeti to do is get the center down and get the multi-infernos down. So check it out now. Once that multi-inferno goes down, I had clear pathing through the base. We got the splash damage down. Now what it means is you can loop around from any angle with, you know, your rest of your troops. So the Royal Champion can finish off these defenses in one shot. Here comes that ability. Boom. Check it out. Finishes all of the defenses. Baby drag, couple of loons, anything like that. Wizards, goblins. Make sure you're not time failing either, guys, because the Royal Champion can take out the defenses and leave the splash damages behind. But my other attack in this war was a 10 healer into miner strategy. This is one that I've been developing. I actually did a bunch of replays on it yesterday, so I will be sure to share that video at the end. It didn't quite work, but from one little thing, I will be sure to bring you that replay after another couple of Yeti Smash examples. I don't mind showing my fails. That's how we improve. You should analyze things, and there is a key learning point from it as well. But let's move to the next Yeti Smash attack. The next attack was by the other sloth in the clan, Orphan Sloth. Massive GG for getting this one done, but I want to highlight the pathing in this attack. Now, I have 2 other Yeti Smash examples before we move on to my 10 healer miner attack right at the end of the video, but in the other 2 Yeti Smash attacks, there is also things I want to highlight different to this one. But for this replay, I want to highlight the pathing that was identified in this base. And by the way, guys, if you're new to my channel, you want to see daily, educational, but entertaining Clash of Clans videos, be sure to subscribe and be sure to turn on the notification bell. So again, starting with the Grand Warden walk, over to 3 o'clock for this one, just using the occasional wizard. You don't really have to use anything else to funnel with the Grand Warden. That's what's kind of special about it, because you are funneling on your own, but the Grand Warden has a greater reach. So notice that he reaches them inner buildings, and it just means that the Yeti are going to come straight into the base. So again, deployment to pull the Grand Warden, and we've already created the funnel over to the left hand side, so that again, similar to my attack, we've got this little channel where everything has to come into the base. There's nowhere else for them to go. Now, this is where you've got to be careful. I used 1 jump spell followed by 4 earthquake spells. You can get through the base however you wish, but like I said, the splash damage is the most important. So Orphan Sloth here could have just randomly put the jump spells in, but he's very careful. Uses 1 jump spell to get access to not just 1, but 2 multis, and then the next jump spell provides access to the next multi and the Eagle Artillery. So granted, the top area is left, however, we've got a plan for that. And that's where dissecting the base is very important with the Yeti Smash Attack. So as they come through, we get through that town hall. If ever you can enter into the town hall side, that obviously gives you the comfortable 2, but not to mention that, the Giga Inferno is one of the strongest splash damage defenses, and it allows you to use your Grand Warden's ability relatively early in the attack so that you protect the most amount of Yetis as well. Now here's that plan for the top. Royal Champion comes in first, tanks a lot of the defenses, tanks the scatter shot, and then in comes the Stone Slammer as well. The Stone Slammer is the best siege machine to use with this attack strategy. It just works incredibly well if you do not want to use that siege barracks for funneling. So you've got 2 different options there from the first 2 replays, and again I want to showcase different learning points across the different attacks. Not funneling troops, clean up troops in at the start, but that brings an important point in itself. Do not skimp on the funnel. Make sure you have enough troops in order to funnel correctly, and if you can save any of them, then you can use them for cleanup. For example, a minion could have been sent into this area, but plenty of time anyway, gets the job done. So you've seen the siege barracks, you've seen the Stone Slammer, but let's move on to a different example. SGA got a 6-pack in this war, just to let you know guys, with the Yeti Smash. I felt this demonstrated the strategy best, so I wanted to showcase this replay. Then like I said, I have another one with a different learning point before I showcase my 10 healer minor attack. It was pretty awesome. So for this one, what I want you to learn or kind of take away from this attack, which is different from the others, is the use of the siege barracks not to create a funnel, but then also committing, notice down in the troop part, a heal spell, and committing that to the Hog Riders. So the funnel was created with the P.E.K.K.A. and the King down to the west of the base. So up to the north, P.E.K.K.A., down to the west, the King, and he used them in a way that if they walked, great, but essentially he wants them to come into the base as well, so he's self-funneling. Anytime you can do that, generally speaking, it is a good thing, but the King by himself on the outside is always pretty good because there's never any major splash damage, so the barbarians themselves can get pretty good value. Again, that 4 earthquake spell method, which I used in my attack, is used here. Now, whilst you could use 2 jump spells, the earthquakes provide that open access all of the time, but also do a lot of damage onto the buildings. So it means that the Yeti and the Yeti Mites can get through that incredibly quick. You've got to be using rage spells. You need to commit, I would say, 2 rage spells into the center of the base as a general rule of thumb, and then that allows your Yeti through the base with enough ferocity. You don't want them to stall out in the middle of the base. But also the Hog Riders. These are the brand new level 10 Hog Riders, the first troop in Clash of Clans to get to level 10, so you want to protect them. You get 45 troop capacity. You want to see where they are going. So in my attack, remember, we had just a couple of point defense down the side. It was relatively easy for the Hogs to get through, so I went with the extra rage spell, especially since I was committing one to the Grand Warden at the start. However, SGA used a heal spell in this one to protect them Hogs since the Wizard Tower was there, and it proved valuable in this one. Again, not messing around though, having cleanup troops at the top, in from the bottom. You want to try and pinch in from either side. Don't leave anything right over the other side of the base if you can help it. It's just going to help you not time fail. But let's get into the final Yeti Smash example before we move on to my 10 healer attack. Flash absolutely wrecked this base. However, I am going to make a little adjustment that I feel might have benefited the attack, but I want to know your opinions down in the comments on this as well. However, there's many ways to take down a base, and there's many different opinions as well. That's what's great about Clash of Clans. So the siege barracks is not used initially to create that funnel. A couple of balloons and the King over to the left, baby dragon and loons over to the right, and and then the Grand Warden to have a little bit of a walk as well before coming into this channel. However, notice the key things: funneling one side and the other, making sure that you have a small path for all of the Yeti to go through, and that they will pull the Grand Warden as well, hitting that Town Hall early on. So we're using the Siege Barracks in the same method that you've seen in that last attack, just behind the Yeti. Now this is where I think the adjustment could have been made. And I understand why the earthquakes were used here, in order to get pretty good damage onto all of the buildings around here. There's a lot of damage, especially with the Town Hall. However, I would have probably used the jump spell. Yes, it wouldn't have gave us direct access to this multi, but you could have then used 4 earthquakes here, which would have given us access to it, and direct access to the far multi-inferno as well. You'll see what I mean in a second. But the 4 earthquake spells provides the opportunity to just take down this area very quick with the Town Hall. Make sure that there's more damage onto the defenses, so you can argue it either way. It gets a 3-star, right? I mean, as long as you can get the 3, you can get it done. And that's where, with the Yeti Smash, I'm telling you, you should be just crushing bases with it, as long as you can get that pathing, as long as you can get that funneling, and the Hog Riders can come in to that multi-inferno to help as well. But notice this far multi, if we had earthquake spells, which would have been able to reach this entire compartment here, we'd have had direct access through here, and maybe it would have been a better option. Maybe it would have split the troops too much, let me know. But again, you just need to get the splash damage. As long as you can get that splash damage, then you will be able to clean up with the Royal Champion, because the Royal Champion's pretty good as well. There's a likelihood that she might get a nerf as well. I think the Yeti are the main thing that need a nerf, but there is a chance that the Royal Champion does, and I completely understand why Supercell would do this. I mean, you add a new hero, you add a new troop to the game, why would you make them underwhelming and pretty unusable? You want people to enjoy it, especially when the update is brand new, and, you know, there's a complete mismatch between attacking and defenses. Bases haven't caught up yet, defenses tend to take longer to upgrade. We see this every update, so don't panic, guys. They will be looking at things closely, but they'd far rather overcook the troops to enjoy them, to get people, you know, using them, learning them, and then they can modify it from there. But I also had another attack. I've been working on this 10 healer minor combination. I think it's a pretty good combination. I brought you a video on it yesterday. I will link you across to that, but let's take a look at the attack I used in this war. Okay, so the attack was against Spackman, and both of my attacks were done right at the start of the war. They were both fresh, well, I say right at the start of the war, within the first 2 hours, because I was busy the next day, so I had to get my attacks done. But with the 10 healer strategy, the reason I came up with this is I really didn't like triangulating my heroes with 15 healers. But I thought 10 of them, I can send the Royal Champ down one side, Queen down the other, it just works well. Now, for this base, although it gets very sketchy, it's very close to getting it done, and I'll explain why. So I funneled correctly here with the baby dragon and the loons, got my wall breakers in nicely to this area. Basically, I needed that first test wall breaker, then I used the rage, that's going to help the queen anyway, freeze the scatter shot cannon and multi to get the wall breakers in, and in we go. The wall breakers ended up pulling the CC. Now I actually had a hog rider, which I was going to send in order to pull them anyways, just because I didn't want the CC going across to my Royal Champion. When it's a fresh hit, you never know what it is. So this is working great, guys. The queen is going to charge this area. Idea being, if I can get the queen to charge here, then my Royal Champion to charge here, miners would come into the Town Hall. That's the basic idea. King would funnel this, Slammer would come into the bottom, open up the walls as well if I can get them onto the bomb tower. It was working great. So the queen was taking out the bottom well. This is where the error was made. Essentially, I wanted the king to take out this in order to allow the miners straight pathing to the Town Hall, keep them grouped together, and I had planned for the king to come in here to the barracks, down to the army camp, and then he's in from there to the Dark Elixir drill, and he's in. He takes all of this out from there. But because I knew I had a pretty lengthy queen charge, I just did not want to time fail. 2 hero charges can easily time fill. So I quickly shifted my focus up to the king, just quickly popped him in. I popped him basically a tile too far here so that he then went to the Dark Elixir Drill and up to the army camp. If I'd have popped in here, it would have worked. However, in hindsight, I should have actually put him on the elixir storage. So he then just moved to the army camp, archer tower, gold story, gold mine, and up to this archer tower. That would have been a far better deployment. I wouldn't have messed it up, so it would have been a better deployment. But watch the attack. If this goes down, it's a completely different story. So the queen's doing a good job down there. She's relatively safe. I know I'm going to need to get through the queen, but the king misses this. Now, I decided... I was trying to quickly think, do I put the royal champion here? But essentially she'd be drawn down here. So I thought, let's stick with the plan of bringing the royal champion into the multis, because the royal champion was set to take this. So royal champion comes in, queen, that queen charge was epic. And I was on voice and the spotter basically said, freeze the air defense, freeze the air defense. But I was actually zoomed in at the royal champion up here, and I froze that air defense, and then I was like, what? But he was talking about this air defense because it was picking off my healers. So air defense at 6 would have been nice. But anyways, guys, that's not what failed the attack. Queen gets through that bottom area. Royal Champ is doing well. But this is where it now, look, I have to split the miners to get them to come in. And I just don't have the momentum to come through here. If I had this tight path, King had taken out this. 15 miners in would have been so much better. So I was going to use the Grand Warden's ability through the Town Hall, heal into this area. Royal Champion, look, she was actually doing great. And if the king had have took out that area, I think the Royal Champion would have been directed up to this area, which would have then taken it out. It would have been ideal. It would have been ideal. But the miners took so much damage because they were spread apart. Plus I was panicking. Grand Warden was well delayed. Royal Champion ends up taking the Town Hall and rescuing the 2-star. It got sketchy, but I think that the king deployment was the main thing which wrecked this attack. I mean, it's just a bit of fun. The war itself was a huge... I mean, it's still ongoing at the time of recording. It was just a lot of fun to celebrate Carbon's birthday. I hope he has a great birthday. It's today, by the way. So I wanted to do this 10 healer attack. It's definitely not the meta, it's definitely a hard one, but I kind of thought at first glance I could get it to work against Backman's base, and I think if I'd have adjusted the king deployment, got him to take out that, Royal Champion would have been directed this way. The pathing for the miners was then so much thinner, and I think I would have got it. I honestly think if miners got through the Town Hall, I got that Grand Warden's ability, and I planned to use the heal around here, I think we'd have got it, guys. I think we might have got it, but let me know what you think down in the comments. I hope this video has helped you with the Yeti Smash. Share any other tips you have. But if you do want to learn this strategy in a bit more depth, the 10 healer, I'm going to link the video from yesterday here. It was a ton of fun. I will do it again because I love it. But that's going to finish it off for this one. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, guys. We'll see you back here again tomorrow. Peace out.